In this video, I want to offer up some tips and pointers that may put you in a position to build an amazing comic book collection. And I believe that it's possible. Stay tuned. Reggie here, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. In this video, we are going to take some time to talk about building an amazing comic book collection. And I will tell you that I firmly believe that it's possible to do it even in this day and age if you have the ability to be contrarian. There are a lot of folks that say it's impossible to put together an awesome collection, but I disagree with those people. As a reminder, when I came back into this hobby at the end of 2017, 2018, I did not have an impressive collection at all. But I set a goal, I worked my tail off, I made magic happen, and I think that now is a good time to actually build a great collection if you can set a goal, be aggressive, and go after it. And as I said, be a little contrarian. Right now, people are holding on to their money. But if you have money, and if you don't need that money, now could be a great time to pick up some awesome comics at lower prices that will eventually recover when the overall economy and market turn around. Now, with that said, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about an ocean. Specifically two oceans, a red ocean and a blue ocean. I was inspired several years ago when I read a business book called The Blue Ocean Strategy. And this book had an incredible impact on my mind professionally. And when I came back into the hobby, I took some of those learnings from my business world and I applied it to comics. For those that are not familiar with the blue ocean, red ocean, I want to talk about it ever so briefly, and then I'm going to connect it to comics. And some of you will already know exactly where I'm going. On one hand, you have a red ocean. That ocean is red from competition. It is called the bloody waters, where you have a lot of people that are fighting over a limited number of resources. And the water is bloody because people are fighting. And there will absolutely be some winners in this type of scenario. But there will be very few winners and a whole lot of losers because that's just the nature of competition. Now contrast that to a blue ocean. A blue ocean is one in which there is less competition and potentially more winners. More winners because these folks are going out there creating their own blue ocean, creating their own opportunity, or finding one where there's not a lot of people paying attention to those things. You may have already figured out where I'm going with this. When you think about FOMO, when you think about a comic being optioned for a movie or TV show, or a movie or TV show coming out that is attached to a comic book, that is essentially the red ocean. You have a lot of people that are now paying attention to a couple of things that are pumping money into that thing, essentially driving the price up. And yes, there will be winners. Those winners will pay a lot more for every single thing that they win because the prices have been increased through competition. There is a reason why I do not participate in auctions, because I want to win. And if it's a competitive situation, I'm going to spend more to win, which does not bode well for me and my collection. I don't do auctions. I try to stay away from the bloody waters of competition. Instead, I look for the blue ocean. I look for those opportunities where there aren't a lot of people. I look for those books that people aren't paying attention to. And a lot of folks will hear me say that and assume that I'm talking about not so good books. That is not true. And I'll explain that in just a second. But there are a lot of blue ocean books out there. And if you think about it, there are fewer red ocean books, right? If you think about it, every single week, every single month, there is a hot list that comes out. That hot list is comprised of 10 or 20 comics or a hot list video or something like that. It is a limited number of books. And when you take a step back and look at it, a limited number of books that are now on the hot list versus all of the other comics that are out there. There are more blue ocean opportunities than there are red ocean. It just feels different. It feels like everything is about the red ocean, but that's just human nature to run towards the shiny object and the new thing that everyone else is going after. The blue ocean is where the magic is. One of the questions that I've received from people in the past is, how do I find the blue ocean? Well, It's everywhere, literally. But if you want to find it, one great way to find it is to look at the old hot list. Look at the hot list from a month ago, or 6 months ago, or a year ago. Those are great books that are on that list that have probably seen their values come down because people have turned their attention to the new hot list, not the old one. So by using an old hot list or an old YouTube video speaking about hot books, you might actually be able to find a blue ocean. Another great way to find it is to look at your own want list or wish list from last year or the year before. You put those books on the list because you wanted them. And the question now is, well, do you still want them, and what's happening with the value? Potentially your own list can help you to find the blue ocean opportunities. There are companies out there that put out a cold list where they've identified books that have seen their values come down or that have seen their prices come down. Either way, those could be great books for you to pick up. One of the things that I hear consistently from people is that the market is going to continue to drop. Comic values are going to continue going down. They very well could be right about that. We could see an additional 10 to 20% decline in the overall market. Who knows what's actually going to happen in the future? What I will encourage you to do is to think about what they're actually saying and then translate that into actual numbers. Had a conversation with somebody recently about a book, and they said that this book could go down another 10 to 20%. When you translate it into numbers, that's somewhere between $40 and $89 for this specific book. That's not necessarily material when you look at how the book has declined in value from a year ago to where it is today. An additional 10 to 20% is not necessarily material when you look at the 90% drop that the book has already experienced. So you have to put these numbers in context. The other part of it is this. A lot of folks are trying to time the market. They are trying to find the absolute bottom so that they could buy every single comic as cheaply as they possibly can. The reality is that the market itself doesn't necessarily move in one way all the time. All comics aren't suddenly going to drop across the board another 50%, right? You're going to have some books that are going to be up, some that are going to be down, right? But this idea of trying to time the market is something that I really don't think could happen. When you look at the stock market, they have up to the second, like near real-time data on how the stock market is performing because of the sheer number of transactions that take place every single second. It's impossible to predict the market. It's impossible to know exactly where the bottom will be in the stock market, and they have near real-time data, right? You cannot predict it. How can you predict the comic book market if you cannot predict the stock market, given that they have much better data? All of our data is in hindsight. All of our data is days to weeks old by the time we actually see it. So how do you find the bottom? You find the bottom after the book has already recovered, weeks later. Right? So this idea of finding the absolute bottom in order to actually get in is something that I really do not think is possible, yet it's something that people continue to talk about. People jump on board with a book when it's hot, when people are paying attention to it, when prices are going up. That's when we want to jump on it. That's not where you make money. That's not where you build a collection. You build a collection by picking up awesome books for as little as possible. And if you look at where the comic book market was a year or 2 years ago, we are at the bottom point. Is it the absolute bottom? Who knows? But it's incredibly low versus where it was. And potentially now is the time to build an amazing comic book collection if you have the ability to be contrarian. With that said, we're going to wrap this video up. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, I want to encourage you to hit the thumbs up button and to leave a comment behind. If you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.
This thing on? Mic check. I just want to make sure y'all can hear me clearly. Yeah. Should you practice art? Or should art be your practice? I had a question, so I asked it. Not to anyone specifically, but to my inner God, you know? The one that's gonna be a master. The one that's more than a rapper. The one that's an educator. The one that seeks enlightenment. He travels with concepts. He's got the mindset expansive. He understands that his time combined with travel and concepts makes his mind convex. Sort of like when you look at a brain scan. Straight off meditation, we was concaving until we had that eternal dialogue that created our dialect. Now we in distinct rooms of pure souls having them conversations. Synergy and combinations. You fly and we waiting. Indian style in the gold.